Good morning, my lovelies. I wanted to take some time to give a bit of an update as we are getting ready for our annual meeting. Normally, when we get together, I give a little bit of an update on how things are going, and I wanted to do that by video. I sent an email out yesterday that had all the business end of things, the proposed budget, and also the commission leaders that we have proposed that you can look at. If you don't receive the UCC Happenings emails already, email Anthony at universitychristianchurch.net, and be sure and get that information. And we are basically taking an email vote. You don't have to vote yes if you approve, but just to email us with a no vote if you don't approve. And hopefully that will be a legitimate way to pass this budget even if we can't be together. So I did want to just share with you how things are in general as we are approaching the new fiscal year. It's a very strange time to be trying to set a budget and reimagine what the new fiscal year is going to look like. But we as a lead team have a deep peace about things, and I just wanted to celebrate that with you. I'm being reminded of the passage that we used for the Take Root campaign a year ago from Jeremiah 17, which says, "Blessed are those who trust in the Lord. They shall be like a tree planted by water, sending out its roots by the stream. It shall not fear when heat comes, and its leaves shall stay green. In the year of drought it is not anxious, and it does not cease to bear fruit." And I think that's taken on some new meaning and relevance at this time. This could feel like a time of drought, and yet at the same time, we don't need to be afraid. And it's a beautiful thing that over quite a few years, we have been working as a lead team and a staff to make things more sustainable here so that there is some cushion when there are seasons of drought, not for the sake of ourselves, but so that we can keep being a place that bears fruit in this neighborhood, for a place that's in crisis all the time in some ways when we're ministering to young adults and people who are kind of in cultural crisis, to be a place that is stable even when other things are in crisis. And so I wanted to share that with you and celebrate that with you. Over the last year or two, many more people have been giving their offerings through ACH. And of course, I should say, I'm just giving the financial report right now. There are so many other ways in which we can count the ways that we don't need to be anxious, but just preparing for the annual budget right now. So a lot of people have begun giving through their ACH, which is the automatic transfer from bank account to the church bank account, which really helps us to have a stable income. It's very difficult to try to set a budget and pay staff and utilities when we don't have that stable income. So it's really helpful to do that, even though that doesn't seem like a very spiritual thing. It allows really spiritual things to happen. Also, we have paid $240,000 off on this mortgage in just 1 year, so only about $110,000 remains, which makes me think this is not a 3-year project as we first had imagined. We have really knocked that thing down. So for everyone who has given so generously, and some who've given ahead of schedule, that also gives us a lot of wiggle room in our budget right now because we're ahead of schedule on that. It means that the bank decreased our monthly payment that we have to pay from our church offerings. And so we used to pay $3,200 a month. The bank has actually said you've paid so much off that you only need to pay $1,900 a month. And so we are able to then free up some of those funds to take care of other things that we wanted to do this year to take care of staff without actually increasing the end line of the budget on that, as you'll see if you open that attachment in the email. But to just reassure you, every single cent that is given directly to the Take Root campaign is still going to go down on the principal. So as far as the bank is concerned, we are paying off way more than the minimum. But when we're looking at what's just coming out of our offerings every week, the normal weekly offerings separate from the Take Root giving, we can give a lesser amount, which is a wonderful thing to give us some wiggle room at a time like this. And then finally, in addition to paying so much down on our mortgage last year on the Take Root campaign, we also have received more in regular offerings through on Sunday mornings than we were anticipating. And so it looks like we may be finishing up this fiscal year with a rollover of around $15,000. That also gives us some wiggle room at this time of year when it's possible that income may decrease or other things might be in crisis in the coming months if the economy tanks. We have some buffer there. In addition to some savings we already had, we have this extra amount of offering that's come in this fiscal year that just gives us some buffer zone. And so you can probably see in my face that this means I'm able to actually attend to spiritual things and relational and community things. All of our staff is not wrapped up in crisis mode over finances right now. And I hope that you can see that that has a spiritual ramification. I believe that the giving and the generosity does something in our hearts when we give, that God is able to use that to stretch our imaginations of his abundance. And I trust that those things are happening in our hearts as much as we can measure dollar amounts. We can't measure those things that are also ways that we can celebrate. So very spiritual things are happening when we are giving in those ways. And I want you to see in my face that this is also freeing up staff and lead team members to be praying and to be reimagining how to do church at a time like this, because we're not worried about the finances right now. We're being thoughtful and careful and prayerful, but it's not taking up all of our energies right now. So I want you to be able to celebrate that with us. If you have been giving this year through offerings or to take root, I just want to thank you for your generosity. Thank you for partnering in this work. And I trust that God has been doing that work in you as well, of stretching your imagination, stretching your heart, and helping you join in his mission in that way. I trust that he's been blessing you as you've been blessing the ministry here and being a part of the ministry here in deeper and deeper ways. I wanted to say as well, I know there are some folks who have had some decrease in their income through this crisis, and I just want you to know not to be ashamed of that. We understand, and if you need to let us know about that, please do. Also, let us know if you have needs. I know it's actually a little bit vulnerable to be able to have to say, I need something right now, could I ask that of you? But it blesses us. It blesses your brothers and sisters in Christ to know how we can bless you. So please let us know if there are needs, because we have some folks, this is another thing I want to invite you into, if you are not having a decrease in income and if those stimulus checks are feeling like extra right now, that there may be folks in the community who could really be blessed by those. And so we have set up a COVID-19 benevolence fund. If you want to give something towards that, you can just write a check, send it to Kara at the church address, and write COVID-19 benevolence in the memo line, and that can be put into a fund that will be available for folks as they lose income. If for some reason we don't need to use it, we can revisit that later. But thank you so much for that generosity, if that's something that you would consider. So I'm so thankful that we are able to be like the church in Acts, that for those who have many, have much, they can share with those who have less, and that I know God is providing for all of us at this time. So to come back to that passage from Jeremiah, we are able to have no fear during this time of drought, financially, but deeper than that, because we have also been investing in relationship with God and with one another. There are so many riches there that we can build on and grow from at this time. I heard a pastor recently say that a lot of his friends were really anxious because a lot of our congregations won't survive this, and it troubled me a little bit, because even if we had some kind of financial loss, even if for some reason this was not a great situation for us financially, which may still be ahead for us, I don't know, but nothing is going to stop us from being the church. Nothing can keep us from praying, from serving one another, from loving our community, and from being on mission with God. And so because of the ways that we have invested in deep relationship with him, our roots go down deep in the stream. We have that connection already to the source of life. We've been practicing our prayers. We've been practicing what it means to be with one another and with God. And those things are also resources that we can draw upon right now, so that we don't have to be afraid in this time of drought. And actually, when it comes to spiritual things, this does not feel like a time of drought. This feels like a time of opportunity. I'm seeing people turn towards Jesus in new ways for the first time, or in deeper ways than ever before. I'm hearing from folks who've been on the edges of community who are digging in, and I'm just so blessed by the potential that what can come from the richness of this spiritual moment. So thank you so much for being in this community with us. Thank you for participating online with us and in Zoom calls. Keep checking out our YouTube channel for stories and reflection times and sermons and music and worship and dancing and all kinds of wonderful things. If you have ideas about things you'd like to post on there, then we're open to that as well. And please let us know if there are needs that we aren't thinking of to meet, or ways that you want more of something or less of something. We're trying to figure this out as we go, but God is good, and I can't wait to be with you all in person again. But in the meantime, we are still one. We are still connected to the source of all life, and connected to one another. So be well, my friends, and see you soon.